Is there a cure for depression? That's what we're going to talk about today on the Every Damn Week podcast. Hello, everybody, and thank you again for joining me for the Every Damn Week podcast. I am John Kirby, and this week we have a brand new topic. We're kind of carrying over a little bit from last week. Last week we talked about the link between physical fitness and mental health, and how the Every Damn Day program was helping me to improve my mental health. And by doing that for 2 years, that certainly did help my mental state and improve that. But the real question here is that a permanent cure? Can that cure it and then your depression goes away? Your mental health is suddenly, hallelujah, it's saved. You have perfect mental health. That's the topic I want to cover today. It's physical fitness, in my opinion, is not the cure-all, because if you stop physical fitness, you go sedentary again, then the problems will reoccur. But to be honest with you, physical fitness isn't the 100% cure either. There is more to mental health than just going out and doing physical fitness, which is why in Every Damn Day, I push for mental and spiritual progress as well. All three of these combined, this trifecta that I talk about, is so important to our overall progress and mental health that it's important that we focus on all three. And one of the things I want to kind of talk about is Rick Springfield. And this is kind of an older topic, really, but I've only come across it recently. So recently, my wife and I went to a Rick Springfield concert, and I've never been to one. We went just because it sounded fun, and he was playing with Men at Work and with John Waite, and me being the old 80s music aficionado that I am, I was like, I know all three of those groups. I have got to see all of these live. I just thought it'd be some fun, and I was amazed at Rick Springfield's concert. 73 years old, and he's out there still rocking as hard as ever, and we had the best time ever. And I ended up stumbling across his book from 2010 called Late at Night. And as you know, Rick Springfield is famous for Jesse's Girl, for being an actor on General Hospital, if you don't know that. And he's done music since then. But there was a period when you go back, he was very successful, and he was, about mid to late 80s, he suddenly dropped off. And everybody was wondering why. Well, he didn't really share what was going on, but he disappeared for about 10 years and then came back on the music scene and started doing music again. And he did a little acting in the 90s, but he really did disappear for the most part. And in his book, Late at Night, he shares in depth a lot of what happened to him. Now, I'll tell you right now, it's a great read. Difficult read. He shares a lot of things in there, and he's not the perfect individual. There are things in there, and he freely admits that he has done some really boneheaded things in his life, and really tries to turn things around as much as he can. But the one thing he has dealt with his entire life is depression, mental health issues. From the age of 17, where he tried to hang himself and the noose came undone and he fell on the floor. From that point on, he was dealing all of that time through depression, and that was what drove him away. The depression came back in the mid to late 80s, and he walked away from music to work on himself and to make improvements for himself mentally. And he thought for the longest time that wealth and fame and success was just going to cure his depression altogether. And I thought that was an interesting perspective, and he shared more about this, and I want to play a clip from an interview he did. I think it was back in 2013 or something like that. I can't remember when he did, maybe just a few years ago. But anyway, I want to play this clip, and he sums it up quite nicely here.
So when you say none of these things have healed you. Is there a solution, or is it?
Yeah,
learning to
well, no,
live
there's not a
with it?
solution. It's a life sentence. It's not like doing heroin and going to I
Rehab.
don't mean that lightly, but and going to rehab and coming out and say, I'm a new man. When I got the movie Ricky and the Flash, it lifted me, and I was but a little later, I look in the mirror and Mr. D would say, "You're gonna really f this up, you know that, right?" I certainly don't mean that to be like a sad sack about it, because I know I'm very fortunate and I'm very thankful. I have an amazing family. I have great people in my life. I'm doing something that I love, but at times, it pulls me down, and that's, I know a lot of people with depression. I'm not the only one.
And just so you know, when he refers to Mr. D, he actually is calling Mr. D the darkness, and that's what he called his depression. It was always in his book. It was great. He referred to Mr. D throughout, and Mr. D was always another person, and he'd always do it in his Australian accent, which I thought was just absolutely perfect to put another perspective on things. Mr. D would always give him the negative, and how he would always, you're going to mess this up, Rick. You're going to screw this up. Constantly, it's there. It's always there. And that's what he shares in the book. And even up until the last few years, he said he even felt on edge when Robin Williams took his life, and he mentioned back then, he said, I was in that place too, and I seriously thought about it, and he felt the same way at one point. So he still deals with this to this day, and to see him go out there and perform and do what he does, and he still does his best, and he feeds from that, and that helps him. But he's done other things too, which I want to kind of share what I've done for my mental health beyond just doing the physical fitness, because that's just one thing that I've done to help my mental state, my mind, along the way. There's more to it. And one of the things that I've done that it turns out he's done as well is meditation. Meditation is really good for clearing your mind. And I love to, from time to time, if I feel just very stressed and I'm really anxious, got a lot going on, I love to just step back for 5 or 10 minutes at least, and just focus on my breathing, and just sit there in a state of meditation where I'm not thinking about anything. It really does help to clear the mind. This was something I did a lot of during my initial first year of Every Damn Day. Really didn't kick in until probably, I would say, 9 months after I started Every Damn Day, when I really started to get some more clarity and was really starting to, okay, now what? I've got the physical fitness part figured out. What else can I do? And I started to focus on the mental aspects more. And meditation was one of those things. And I was doing it every day for a while to really focus on clearing my head and taking my mind off of my problems and the stresses that were taking me down. The other major thing that I did that really helped tremendously was to journal, and to write in my journal every morning. Generally before I would start my day, sometimes before I go to the gym, sometimes right after, but I would do it early enough in the day so that I would take what I'm thinking about and get it on paper, get it down so that it's not stirring in my head for long periods of time. So ideally, I like doing that before I went to the gym, because then I get it on paper, 15, 20 minutes. That's all I really needed to spend. I didn't spend very long. Write a page, maybe 2. And then I would head out the door to the gym. So my mind is a little more clear when I get to the gym, and generally I'm focused on what I'm doing there at the gym. So that just makes my mind's even lighter at that point. So it really helps there. And I still journal to this day. I haven't been journaling quite as much lately, and I had a few really difficult things over the summer that I was dealing with, and I didn't get a chance to journal as much. And then I found a need where I just had to sit down and just practically word vomit on paper for about 6 pages. That happens sometimes. But it's such a release because once I'm journaling it and I'm processing it, it's not like a dear diary, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about what has happened. But then I'm analyzing it. Okay, what could I have done differently? Or I'll write down a plan on, okay, now that this has happened, what do I do next time? Or what can I do in the future instead? So I start thinking about other possibilities and more ways to be more positive about it. I'll even just write things where I'm grateful, where I'm grateful for this today. I'm grateful for that today. Gratitude made a big difference, and that was a great state to be in. And that's more of the spiritual, emotional state where the gratitude really does kick in and make a huge difference for us in this entire trifecta. The other thing I did a lot of was staying busy, staying active. One of the things that Rick Springfield talks about is the alone times. The alone times are when Mr. D would come back for him. And I can concur with that. Those alone times, sometimes depending on what's going on and what's happening in my world, if I find myself alone, I can really, really feel that darkness coming up on me. And so if I'm not busy, it really does pop back up in my head. Even if I've had a good workout that morning, it can still happen. So I make sure to stay active and busy, not just active physically, but I have other projects I'm working on. Maybe work is something that should be taking my mind off things, but sometimes work is stressful. Everybody deals with that. We all have work stress, and sometimes you just got to walk away from that and you got to do something else. Got to change it up. So have activities that you can do to take your mind off of what's going on. I like to spend time with friends and family. Spending time with them is going to take my mind off of things, but it's that quality time with everybody that helps me to feel more focused and enjoying that love that my family has for me and my friends have for me, and to be able to be there together and just have fun and just not worry about the world and just do something that is enjoyable and fun together. But one of the other things that I highly, highly recommend, especially for men, is to talk about it. Talk about things that are bothering you, or even talk about your anxiety or depression if you need to. Say, I'm in a bad state. I'm in a bad place. I need someone to talk to about it. I need to get this off my chest. There is a big, big issue where men are dealing with this, and it's this toxic situation where they feel like they can't talk to somebody about it, because if they do, they look weak. No, that's not true. Anytime that you feel like you need to talk, you talk, because it's healthy. It's good for you. For me, it's like the journaling. You put it on paper and you're getting that off your chest, but sometimes you need another person to just simply be there to acknowledge, say, yes, I understand. Yes, I hear you. You're not looking for somebody to fix it. You're looking for someone to just hear you and hear what's going on. And one of the things I've learned recently, actually not really recently, but over the last few years, Ryan Reynolds is someone who deals with anxiety, not necessarily depression, but anxiety. And what's funny is he uses his Deadpool character to get him through the anxiety he feels when he does interviews and such. But he recently also had somebody asked him about depression, and he hit the nail on the head with this particular item that I'm talking about. So I'm going to play this for you really quick.
Well, I think it's a good thing for anyone to talk about it, no matter what your station in life is. And, for me to talk about it, a lot of people might project this image onto me that I have it all, or I'm, but, that sort of thing, it doesn't discriminate, it gets anyone from any sort of walk of life. And it's, for me, it was just talking about it sort of destigmatizes it. Talking about it for me has helped in some ways, in this age of toxic masculinity, there's a lot of dudes out there that have a tendency to sort of bottle it up and keep it in and think that they've got to be a tough guy and soldier on, but that's not necessarily true.
So yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where you can't bottle it up. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you really can't bottle it up. By bottling it up, it's like just keeping poison inside your body. Your body needs to get rid of that poison, and that poison will eventually tear you down. I mean, you think about it, it's going to shorten your life. It really will. And sometimes in a way that you don't want it to. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy mentally. It's not healthy physically. Opening up and talking to people is so important. So I want to wrap up by sharing that. And so make sure to talk to people about it. There is no cure for depression, folks. There is no cure for mental health issues. It has to be maintained and balanced. You can't go to rehab and get rid of it. You have to, it's going to be there, and you need to prepare for it. It's never going to go away, but how you deal with it. And I can tell you right now, in the last 4 years, in my entire life, I've dealt with depression. The last 4 years, I have truly turned that around. And while I still have my depressive moments, they don't control me anywhere near as much anymore because of all these things I've implemented. Thank you for watching, and we will be with you again next week with another episode. Take care.